again to the Real Collective podcast. My name is Brendan McKeigan. With me, as always, is Sean Tasse. That's right, realcollective.ca for all your real estate needs. The most cliche phrase in real estate. Arms crossed, three-quarter turn. We got a great show lined up for you guys. Before we get into it, if you are enjoying yourselves, if you've enjoyed the past ones, the past episodes, give us a like, subscribe, a share, download us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or if you have your own individual needs or even just questions, we have our Calendly links below. They're down there. Calendly.com/Brendan613 is mine, and I believe Sean's is /Sean Tasse.
Yes, sir.
There we go. Sean, how are you, my friend?
Oh, we're powering through. This is the I guess it's, I don't know, second or the third week of school, and there's viruses and illnesses floating around the house. So just making do with life on life's terms, as it were. It's full. It's busy. I sound nasal, so there's a thing going on there. One of three was up last night vomiting, so it's good times.
Yeah, I was really worried. I don't even know if I've talked about this on the podcast yet. I did when I hosted Comic-Con at the beginning of the month. I had an interview with Dave Foley from Kids in the Hall, and on Wednesday he puts up an Instagram post, which was the day after I put up, "Hey, I had a great time chatting with Dave Foley. What a nice guy." And turns out he got COVID. Yeah. So I was really worried because I already had COVID once and it sucked. And then on Tuesday, felt a little tickle in my throat. Turns out just a cold. But I took like 4 or 5 days of like 2 to 3 tests a day. Like for 3 days, it was 3 tests a day. And then and when I mean 3 days, I mean like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. For those 3 days, I was going three a day just to make sure, and then Friday and Saturday took a couple of tests, but luckily it's just a cold, which is a rare thing. I'm so happy. I'm so happy. Oh, it's nice to have a cold again.
Yeah, is it? Picture of health, right? That's the thing. It's like we keep testing. It's not COVID, but it's like, oh well, there's vomiting in the house and there's stuffy face and there's congested throats and all that kind of stuff. It's like, okay, well, just all of the colds that we haven't had for the last 2-3 years are like happening now. So
yeah,
kids are back to school. Good times.
Exactly. And everything is changing. We got sicknesses going on. We got colds coming back that are just regular colds. And in changing, the market is also changing. And that brings us into what we're talking about today. We have a bit of a shift, so to speak, going on in the market. Homes are not going for the ridiculous prices over asking that they were. There's not the crazy bidding wars so much anymore. Maybe if you price your 5-bedroom home at $200,000, then yeah, you're going to get that. But we're seeing less and less of that crazy seller's market that's going on. And so today we wanted to talk about managed expectations. Anyone who's ever watched Mad TV, lowered expectations, but it's not lowered. We're managing your expectations because the market is changing. So if you are a seller or even if you're a buyer, we've got some info that will hopefully help you out as you make your journey through to buying a home.
Yeah. Well, obviously, for the last 2 years, we haven't had to really perform the skills that typical real estate agents do, right? You put a sign in the front lawn, you put the house on the market, and essentially it sells itself, right? That's been the experience over the last 2 years. I think the importance of having realistic expectations in a shifting market is going to make all the difference between selling your house for more money or for less. If you're just looking at it from the perspective of a seller, it's completely counterintuitive, but picking the right listing price and actually listing your house for less means that it's going to sell faster and therefore for more money. And we've done studies that look at this. The more time you spend on market, the less valuable the buyer perceives your house to be. And so they'll give you a lowball offer. And so you might end up selling your house for less than you want to by selling it quickly, but you'll actually sell it for more than you would if you had taken, 1 or 2 or 3 months to sell it, which is, a lot of the reasons why us as realtors wind up with this, oh, well, they just want to sell it fast and get the sale done and move on to the next one. They don't want to get as much money for the house as we do as the sellers. And that's always the thing that we bump up against when we're having this conversation. But yeah, it's been interesting. But I did. If you guys are watching these on a regular basis and you see the market update that we did, I think we're close to a trough by the looks of things. The amount down that the average price of a property has gone month over month, reduced to the smallest number that it's been since March. So we were seeing $25,000, $24,000, $30,000, $56,000 average price reduction month over month. But last month, so from July to August, it was only 10,000. So it'll be interesting to see the numbers that show up in September. The rate change, of course, might have an effect on that. But having realistic expectations when you're selling in this market is so key. And as a buyer, there's some great opportunities out there.
Yeah, no, absolutely there is, and that's kind of what you touched on there was. How the price drops were 50,000 and now they're 10,000. I mean, that's how much it changes in a month. People are still listing their homes as though it was May or June, and they're kind of finding out, oh man, we really got to drop the price on this if we want this sold. And so now they're coming around to it. So the price drop is about 10,000. And so now I think you're going to get a little bit, like you said, leveled out. People are going to be priced accordingly. Maybe they price it extra low to generate multiple offers and make it busy so they can sell it in a week. And as a buyer, it's just about being prepared for that scenario. One of the things you should be asking your realtor, if you're just sort of starting to browse the homes, like maybe you get that first email of all the homes that are available, is asking how long the home's been on the market. How long it's been on the market? Has there been a price reduction? Was it listed and canceled? That's another big thing. Some people get to the point where they list it at the really high price, and then they cancel it entirely. And then they wait so that they can relist the home and it doesn't look like it's ever been on the market before.
Yeah.
So asking those questions and just kind of doing a little bit more digging as opposed to, oh my God, a house. Let me get my briefcase of money and throw it at it right in the mailbox. Yeah. But I think there's a great opportunity for buyers to pick something up, especially considering the number of people in the last 2 to 3 years who have said, I don't want to get into a bidding war. If you are one of those people, now is the time.
I'm looking at the stats right now, and I'm looking at the real quick snapshot of the market. It's called a market watch. And looking over the past 7 days, we've got 769 listings. We've got 350 sales. So, before we were looking at, for every listing, we have more than one sale. We have 410 price decreases. Okay. Which we never saw that sort of number before. And we've got 225 conditional sales. So, that tells you a really good story, right? I mean, half the stuff that's listed for sale is sold. The other more than half is reducing their price. And there's a couple left that are doing conditional sales. But it paints the picture that we are coming into a little bit more inventory. The other piece that we track, of course, is when we do track inventory, we notice that month over month from July to August, the amount of inventory actually went down, where it would be going up and up and up and up every month. It didn't go up in that same period. So in the last 60 days, our team, our little collective, we've sold 10 residential properties, not including, we had a lot that we sold as well, but we won't include that. We have a weird one. And of those 10 sales, 6 of them I think were listings, 4 of them were buys. The average list price to the average sale price was 102%. So we're still selling houses for a little bit more than what they're worth or than what they're listed for. And the average days on market was 15. In that same period, the entire Ottawa Real Estate Board, the average list price to sell price was 98%. So on average, they're selling for 2% less than what they're listed for. On average, our little group is selling for 2% more than what we're listed for. And the average days on market is 74 in terms of how long it takes. So we're selling houses
across the board
across the real estate board over the last 60 days. So we're selling houses, 5 times faster than average, and we're selling houses for 4% more than the average house is selling. List price to sale price ratio. And so the strategies have changed a little bit in terms of how we're listing properties. And it's just different, right? Those numbers before, at the height of the pandemic, when things were going crazy, our average list price to sell price ratio, I think, was 118 or 120% of list price, right? We were selling houses for, on average, $100,000, $150,000, $200,000 more than what they were listed for. Well, those ratios aren't the same anymore. And it's great from a listing perspective to, list them at the right price. But then from a buyer perspective, like I said, you get to buy places with conditions, right? I think in the second half, maybe we can get into talking about some of the specific deals that you and I have done over the last 60 days and what that's looked like. Because, from an overall point of view, I think the expectation is we're getting back to a little bit more of a balanced playing field, which is more traditional, what you see in the real estate market. So shifting away from a ridiculous seller's market into more of a balanced market. I think we all get to breathe a little bit easier, which is nice, especially in this industry.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I kind of started in real estate, it was kind of becoming more and more of a seller's market, and people thought those prices were ridiculous then. I the house that we paid for, we were like, oh my God, that's so much further. And it was a 3-bedroom detached home in Barhaven with a garage and a big backyard. We ended up going from $350 to $375. And we're like, oh my God, there's no way. And we pushed our max budget to be able to do that at the time. And that was I wasn't even a realtor then when we bought that house. I was in the process of it. So that was all paid for with obviously my wife's income, but obviously like my stand-up comedy. So I was like, really hope this real estate pans out. So $375 at the time was just like insurmountable, like going that much further over asking. And then it got more and more and more and more and more. And now finally, as someone who loves to help buyers find what they're looking for, we have a little bit more leverage.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So we'll talk about some of the deals that you and I have done in the second half of this. We'll go into a little bit of details both on the buying side and the selling side. So depending on where you're at, maybe it's both. It'll give you some insight as to what to expect. So in the meantime, we will hear from our sponsored listing, Lowered Expectations. Lowered Expectations. Ronnie, home seller, 584. Yeah, I thought my home was going to be $900,000, even though it's a 3-bedroom and it's dilapidated. But we price dropped it to $800,000, and now someone offered me $600,000. So I think we're gonna maybe have to work with that one. Lowered Expectations. Anyway,
that's Get ready for story time with Sean and Brendan.
Yeah, it'll be fun. Stick around. Book an appointment with us in the Calendly links below. Like, subscribe, and share on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. And we'll be right back after a word from our sponsor / one of our listing videos.
This episode of the Real Collective podcast is brought to you by Real Collective. Real Collective brings together best-in-class real estate agents and collective experts in the field to deliver the best possible service to our clients. We govern ourselves with honesty, open-mindedness, and compassion. With diverse skill sets, our agents are able to better serve a wide array of clients, including first-time buyers, first-time sellers, transferees, estate sales, investors, and rural, vacation, and luxury properties. Authenticity and transparency are pillars of our process, which allows us to put our clients at the center of everything we do. Our years of experience and knowledge allow us to deliver prestigious service and optimal results. If you are interested in buying or selling your home, contact us today at realcollective.ca.
Welcome back to the RCP, everybody. Second half of the podcast. Again, like, subscribe, and share. Podcast, Spotify, YouTube, and book an appointment with us in the Calendly links below. Second half, we want to get into what our experiences have been with some of our clients without getting too far into specifics, but just to give you a general idea of what the market's like right now so that you're better prepared for when it's time for you to list/buy.
Yeah. I'm going to start because I've got one that's I'm using as a example as I'm talking to new sellers. So originally we had a property in the west end of town. It was a rural property. And when we first sat down, it was, towards the end of the springtime, we said, hey, you know what? Based on the market, the way it's been going, it might be worth as much as 9. But if it continues on a downward trend, it might be worth closer to 8. And that's how big the swing is, right? So we wanted to get it on very quickly. And so we did, although I thought we should have waited until the fall just because I expect the fall typically to be a little bit better. We got it on at the beginning of the summer. And we put it up for, I think, $880, and we didn't get a lot of action. And so, we got, 3 or 4 showings. We had an open house. We had, 2 or 3 people through. And this is at a time where we were seeing some listings, if they were priced right, seeing, 10 and 20 groups through, over the course of a week, right? So what we did is we kept on it. We kept it at the same price, and then we sort of had a conversation and said, well, if we want to do this properly, we're going to have to reduce the price, and here's the price that I think will make sense. And we decided to cancel and relist the property, and all in the same day. That's the move. You don't do a price reduction; you do a cancel and relist. And we did that and put it to $800. Or $799, and we wound up with 2 offers within the next 3 days after that. And those 2 competing offers ended up selling the house firm for $785. So big swing going from $880 down to $785 as a sell price. But there are still some neighbors on the street who are sitting at their same price and haven't sold. And so these guys are able to move on to their next stage of life. The question that I have in my mind is, if instead of starting at $880, if we would have started at $830, is there a chance that it might have been sold in the middle of the summer for example, $820 or even $800, which is more than the $785 that are ultimately sold for, right? And I think that's sort of the cautionary tale about listing too high in a market that's moving downwards. So that's sort of informing the conversations that we're having with our seller clients these days. That makes sense?
Yeah, I think so. And to the flip side of that, I had a buyer in a similar situation who we found a nice bungalow, Ottawa West, like Bell's Corners. Beautiful bungalow, beautiful yard, really well kept. And this type of place would have gone for probably $850 before, and we got it for significantly less. And it was right after a $50,000 price drop. It was that day because it entered into what her search criteria was. So she found out about it, let me know. We went and saw it, had an offer in that day. We then found out there was another offer in play that was there before us as we were writing ours. We submitted ours. Pardon me, there it is again. We submitted our offer, and then the realtor's like, yeah, the other people don't want to compete. So they're out. I'm like, well, they're not because they wrote an irrevocable on there, but okay. Anyway, we got the home and then ended up doing our inspection, and it turns out the AC didn't work. So we just said, hey, listen, I'm going to ask for a $5,000 reduction. And I think that's a little bit more than fair because we kept our offer as it was, as we were thinking we were going into multiples, which was just asking price. And so we ended up getting it for a little bit under asking price to compensate for a little bit of air conditioner, which, yes, I know maybe it's not $5,000 for an air conditioner for a bungalow, but just that. And then the price of like not being able to give what we wanted to on the initial offer because we were in multiples, but then not in multiples. So to that, I think the thing to keep in mind as a buyer, that when there is a significant price drop, that's the time. That's the time to act, because I think that's what a lot of people are waiting for. Is they're waiting for a sale, Black Friday sort of style. You know, you're like, oh no, I'm not going to buy that this week. I know next week it goes on sale. So as soon as it goes on sale, you don't want to be left without that one thing, which is a home. So I think keeping a good eye and still having that, what I tell all my buyers is that SWAT team mentality of, okay, wait, go. That's something to keep in mind for when there is a price drop on a home. It's just getting in there quick, still being good about and smart about your offer, and still being able to put in your conditions. Yeah. We had a few conditions in there. I won't name them, but we had enough that she was protected. And she was much more confident about putting in the offer because she didn't like the idea of the bidding wars. So we got in there quick after a significant price drop for a home that would have been $150,000 to $200,000 more at the beginning of this year.
Yeah, that's a real sniper purchase. You know, like the day it does the reduction, boom, you go and jump on it. And that's why it's so important for us to know what fair market value is for a property, because there are still some, like in this instance, I've got two instances, both in Orleans, both townhouses. One, we were the seller, another one, we were the buyer, where the house was listed below fair market value and ended up selling for more than fair market value with multiple offers. But when you know, okay, and you can prove like, here's what it really is worth, then you can feel confident either paying more for it, or, you know, selling for a higher amount. So firstly, on the sale of the townhouse, we had, I don't remember how many showings. It was like close to 50 showings in a week. So it was a zoo, and then we had 15 offers on it. Now we priced it crazy low. You know, most people thought it was crazy low, but the reality is, with 15 offers, we only saw a purchase price 10% above what it was listed for. So it wasn't too crazy low, right? And it ended up selling for, you know, with, like I say, with 15 offers, we sold it for as much as we possibly could. And then recently we did a purchase on a property. One of the other agents on the team Elliot did a purchase on a property, and it was listed at, I think, $575. And they ended up, you know, liking, when the client was looking at the houses, they said, oh, well, we like this one the most. And they were looking at other houses that were, you know, for $640 and $650. But this one they liked the most, even though it was priced at $575 holding offers. So you could make an argument that, hey, well, if we like this one the most and was priced at, you know, whatever it was priced at, but we like it more than some of these other $640 and $650 houses that we're seeing, you can make an argument that it's worth more than, you know, or in and around $640 or $650. Well, they were actually, even though they were in competition, they were actually able to buy it for $620. So, you know, knowing what fair market value is and knowing what value is to you as the client is super important. And even with that purchase, again, they bought with conditions, right? That a condition of home inspection, went through a 20-year-old townhouse, not too much wrong with it, but then, you know, firmed up on it earlier this week, I think. So you know, there's still opportunities where houses are selling for more than what they're listed for. The real important thing is understanding, okay, well, what's fair market value? And if I'm buying, how can I ensure that I'm getting the best deal that I can? And if I'm selling, how can I ensure that I maximize? But we're not seeing those huge, you know, $100,000 swings in multiple offers, right? A lot of buyers are scared, like you said, of multiple offers. Not scared, but just they don't want to play the game, right? People are finished with the game. So, if we're seeing on average, like I say, it's anywhere up to about 10% list price to sell price ratio, right? And the one that we did was, listed at 4, sold for 442. That one was listed at 575, sold for 620. So it's about, just shy of 10%. So yeah, that's what you should expect to see in terms of if you're competing for a house and it's very, very well liked, or there's a lot of competition for it. So
yeah, and that's brings me a little bit into a sale that I had. It was a stacked condo, and beginning of the year, the stacked condo market was insane. Probably the first half of the year, it was crazy because people could afford those over the homes. Still, first-time home buyers are really picking those up. Now it's tapered off a bit. Maybe people are sort of looking more at like bang for the buck and what they can get or what they want to take care of. So that stacked condo market isn't quite what it was. We listed a little higher than I would have liked to. That being said, I was still pretty confident that we could make something work, but the market just changed so quickly, even in a week. From the time that we decided on the price to the time we got to market, it had changed. And we had a pretty slow week the first time. Had an open house. The open house was decent enough, but still no offers, no bites. So we had to have that realistic conversation of doing a price drop. And the reason we did is because the day after we listed another stacked condo that had the same sort of layout, not nearly as many upgrades. It was like builder basic, and ours had pretty much everything updated, pretty much, but it was definitely worth more, but not for that sort of jump. And Sean, you and I had a great conversation. You brought up the point of like, well, people, when they shop, they're looking, it's like if you're buying a laptop and there's 2 laptops and it's the same laptop in 2 different stores, but one store is like, hey, we're offering you a laptop case and Microsoft Office and whatever you need. You're either going to buy that one or you're going to go back to the other one and say, hey, listen, they're selling it for this much with all of these things. We'll buy yours, but it's got to have to be cheaper, because that's how people think. So no matter what, we had to have that talk and we had to have a price reduction. And we did. It worked out for us. We had a busier open house for the second week. We had a couple more showings than we did. And at the end of the day, we still got an offer. It's conditionally sold. We had an offer that was maybe under asking and with conditions, but at the end of the day, I have a seller right now who is feeling a sense of relief when they're like, oh, thank God. Okay, good. All right. So hopefully everything pans out there. I've been reassured that it has. So we just kind of have to cross our fingers and toes that everything works out for that. But that's what we're getting at now, is just much more realistic pricing for your home. And at the end of the day, if you want your home sold quick, especially if maybe you bought first, because that was the hard thing before, and now we're almost in that kind of limbo stage of what's the more difficult thing to do, it might be selling with a longer close. It's a case-by-case basis, and I think that depends on the type of home or condo that you're living in.
Well, and it depends on what the client wants, what the level of risk tolerance is that they're willing to take. I think with that particular scenario, the thing that really stands out to me about that is that yours is the only one that's sold. There's 2 others that are there and available for sale that have not sold yet. So you're furthest along, and once you set that benchmark, it's going to have an effect on the other 2 that are for sale right now, where they might have to end up reducing their price to be able to do it. It reminds me of one that we did. It's out of the 60 days ago, or maybe it's not. We put it on the market and we sold it, all while there was the house immediately beside it listed for sale that didn't sell. We priced ours at $299, thinking that we were hoping to get somewhere like $350 out of it. And the other one was for sale for $370. And we had challenges with tenants in the property and not being in the best condition, but so did the neighbors, right? And so they were sitting on that same issue. Anyways, we ended up selling, I think, for $343, and there was maybe 2 or 3 offers for it. And then the other people, the neighbors, so this is a great experience. The neighbors only sold after we sold, but then they sold for $305. So huge gap. I mean, $40,000 difference. As the market's going down, you want to price ahead of the market. So price it a little bit lower to get a little bit more. That wasn't the story that I wanted to tell. The last story that I will tell is about, it wasn't on my list, but it reminded me of it. The last story that I do want to tell is about a listing that we had. And when we first started to look at it, again, it was earlier in the season, and we thought that it was fair market value in the range of about $950 or so. And since after we'd done that, the market came down by about $56,000 in that 1 month period. And so we put it up for $850 and, said, hey, no offers until such and such a date. And, we had 20 people through between the open house and showings in the first week. And, we got one offer after offer date, but the number was too low, right? It was less than what we were listed for. And so we went on to phase 2, right? The tried and true method that we've had for the last 2 years of listing it lower gets a lot of people in, but buyers aren't willing to, not often, they're not willing to pay more for the house. Right. So we repositioned. We went to a higher price point. We had another open house, reset, just the opposite of what you did. We went up in price versus going down in price, because we really thought, okay, well, you know what? Maybe we're not worth $950 anymore, but we've got to be worth close to $9. And so we got an offer finally after about a week or so, and these people showed up at the open house. Okay, so the value of doing open houses is that you're going to have people who come through and they're going to be interested at the open house. Your buyer too showed up at the open house, right? So it's important to do all the different marketing that we do, of course. But yeah, what happened was they submitted their offer, and we wound up, after going back and forth a couple of times, we wound up at, I think it was $895, and it was a little bit less than what we were pegging for. But when I look back at what happened to the average price, hey, we thought we were $950. The market went down by 56. We ended up selling for 55 less. It's right on par. And again, with these folks, we wanted to sell their house first before they went and we're going to buy something, because we wanted to know, okay, well, what do we have in the bank to be able to spend on this next property? And so it ended up working. I think the total days on market, so we had the first week was 7 days, not wasted, but 7 days gone. And then I think we sold it about a week or two after that with again, another 7 days to fulfill conditions, because there were conditions. So, ultimately, I think they were satisfied that, hey, the house is sold. And again, there are lots of other homes that continue to sit, and the longer they sit, the worse they get. So that's why our average days on market being 15 versus the average for the Ottawa Real Estate Board being 74 is a super benefit to our clients. And you can see that reflected in the average sale price being higher, right? 102% versus 98%. So there's story time with Sean and Brendan.
There we go. So hopefully that helped. For anybody who is watching / listening, hopefully that kind of got the ball rolling for you of maybe what to expect now going forward. Maybe probably. Let's be honest, it's probably going to taper out a little bit more. So hopefully that helps you out. If we didn't touch on something, put it in the comments below, or book an appointment with us in our Calendly links, also in the description. Again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We're going to wrap things up. Like, subscribe, share on YouTube. Don't forget about Apple Podcasts and Spotify. You can download us there too if you want to listen in the car. But we're pretty handsome sometimes, so you can tune in on the YouTubes and put it in the background. Anyway, I digress, guys. This has been a good one. I hope you guys learned something. I'm Brendan McKeigan. This is Sean Tasse. Until the next one, keep it real.
Collective.